running out of time here. In one shot!
Being a 32-year-old bum living in a filthy apartment, he had given up on his dreams of becoming a member of the defense force. That was until one day when he got injured and forced into a hospital, not knowing if he would ever recover. This dream, however, would soon become a reality with him becoming something like no other. Seen destroying the city is a large monster, causing the location to be under Kaiju alert. You might think the government stands no chance against such a furious monster, and you'd be right. With the average government only having missiles to attack with, they find it difficult to disperse such a monster. While some think of it as a large tragedy, others find it amusing to see what may happen. With the majority of the attacks being futile, the government is left with no choice but to deploy their elite force of monster hunter hunters. To these hunters, only a single strike is needed to take down even the strongest of monsters. Now that we know all of this, let's head over to our protagonist, a nobody that is in charge of a different aspect of the monster subduction. He prepares to head into the battle once it's completed, seeing the various hunters on the way. With nobody recognizing him despite his large part in the operation, he wonders if one day things will change. That is for another day, however. Today he dissects the monster for all of its goods. Whether they get hit by blood or vile juice, they show no signs of stopping, making sure to get every part of the monster. As they clean up, however, one of the monster's parts explodes, causing the cleaners to get stung. With most overlooking this job, they don't realize how dangerous the cleanup can be. One of the newbies of the group talks with his superior, asking himself why he even chose this job. Regardless, he cuts into the intestines, it being one of the most vital parts of the cleanup. Later that night, the leader of the group gets home, but is still followed by the stench. He blows his nose while watching the television display of a young girl named Captain Mina. She is held in high regard for being one of the strongest kaiju hunters, despite her only being 27 years old. Hibino, our protagonist, is this man watching, remembering growing up with Captain Mina. Despite them coming from the same background, they have very different jobs, making him wonder how he ended up on this side of the business. He tells himself that he needs to change, living in a filthy apartment filled with used tissues. The next day, he takes his cheap motorbike back to work, wishing that he has an easy job today. He then enters the meeting room where he is introduced to a newbie in his group, Reno. Reno aims the highest, wishing to one day become a part of the assault force that subdues the monsters. Most people would laugh at him for aiming this high, but Hibino doesn't one day also aiming for the same goal. After seeing him not treat Reno with hostility, he gains favor towards him, going to get changed. He then gets to work cleaning up the monster corpse, showing it is more than just a one-day job. The newbie gets put on the worst part of the job, making Hibino feel happy for him experiencing the worst. Little does he know he is on the same task, forcing him to get frustrated. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. What upcoming anime are you most excited for? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. After a bit of cleaning, they take a lunch break where Hibino notices Reno's growling stomach. With him still being new to the whole cleaning process, he is still struggling to deal with the stench. Hibino notices this, so he gives him not only liquid food, but also some nose plugs to block the smell. Once this is over, they get back to work, cleaning up the corpse until nightfall. Everybody else leaves, having finished their part, but Hibino stays, putting in overtime. With Reno being a broke boy, he also decides to join him for overtime. Although he was rude to him earlier this time, Reno thanks him for helping him get through his first day. After this, he leaves while telling Hibino of the recent changes within the defense force. He tells him that they have raised the age requirement to 32, making Hibino's dream seem even further away. Before he leaves, Hibino makes sure to thank Reno, telling him he is nicer than he lets on. As this happens, however, a monster suddenly pops up and goes to take a bite of Reno. Hibino acts fast, pulling him to the side, but they still must find a way to make it out alive. Hibino urges him to run away and leave this to him, knowing if they both stay, they will both die. Now, with him out of the way, Hibino gets to work, facing off against the monster courageously. To start his plan, he leads the monster on a goose chase. running through the streets of the forsaken area. He eventually spots an opening in which he can escape from, so he slides into it. He knows even though he escaped for now, there is still danger around him. This causes him to run for his life, jumping out of the building's window in the process. As he falls, he remembers another memory with Captain Mina. He talked with her as their town got destroyed, her expressing that she wants to become stronger, so this doesn't happen again. Hibino said the same thing, but had Mina ridicule him. They both realized, however, it's just a dream, so they left it at that, wishing one day they would become stronger. Back in the present, Hibino is still running for his life, being chased closely behind by this monster. He remembers all of his training he went through to try and enter the assault team, but it doesn't help him. With him having no real weapons or abilities, the monster overpowers him with ease, knocking him off his feet. Hibino realizes this is the end, but suddenly Reno reappears. Striking the monster back, he tells Hibino that he called for the assault force, so as long as they hold out he can have another shot at becoming a member of the force. These words of encouragement help him get back into the battle, but with multiple injured body parts he is unable to even stand. The monster eventually gets an opening to take them down, but before it does, a white tiger emerges, taking it down. Standing atop of this is Captain Mina, looking down upon the two cleaners. Hibino ends up passing out and waking up a week later inside of the hospital. He realizes how incredible Mina is to be able to defeat such a prey so fast. As he thinks to himself, Reno calls out to him, showing he is also hospitalized by his side. He tells Hibino that if it wasn't for his help, he would have died, so he thinks he is cool. This makes Hibino remember when he used to strive for joining the force, making him emotional. With these words, he makes a vow to himself, declaring he will stop running away from his dream. He tells himself he will become stronger, but as he does, another monster appears before him. It jumps into his mouth and causes him to undergo a transformation like no other. With him turning into a kaiju himself, Reno is left speechless by his sudden change. He freaks out at first, but soon calms down when Hibino explains himself. Right as he does, some old man whips out his phone and calls the assault force. Hibino used to be super close with Mina, assuring him she would always be there for him if needed. He used to say the same thing, making both of them feel safe together. Now, in the present, Mina walks as the top of the fighters, preparing to subdue the kaiju. Although it was only for a moment, the entire government was on high alert after the old man reported the kaiju. Before this all went down, Hibino tried to smile at the senile old man, but ended up only scaring him more. He tried to help him out, but when he placed his hand on the wall, it exploded. He then went out to explain himself, but realized he had no option but to run. Although he is a monster, he is still happy for finally having powered up. For some reason, Reno joined him in this journey, jumping off the building alongside him. Meanwhile, the assault force head in their direction, Mina still not knowing what's really going on. As they run away, Reno wonders if Hibino really is a kaiju or not, and whether he became a kaiju. While they run, Kaiju displays his various techniques, shooting different things out of his body. Then in an instant he reverts back to normal, telling Reno he needs to take a leak. He tried to hold it, but it soon went out, spraying the street. He thought it would be weird at first, but as he began peeing through his chest, he wondered what was really going on. Once he finished, he felt satisfied, but soon realized what would happen to him. He wonders what he is going to do now, eventually recognizing his chance for joining the assault force is over. Reno then thinks fast, and decides to hide inside of an abandoned area alongside him. As they approach, Hibino's spidey senses start to tingle, informing him of another kaiju. Because of this, the assault force split off, one car taking the new kaiju, and the other going after Hibino. With Mina's group being the one after the new monster, the chances of them encountering each other are slim. Thanks to this emergence, Hibino is able to hide himself to ensure nothing bad comes of him. While this happens, a little girl finds her mother entrapped under a large rock. The girl tries to save her, but is soon stopped when the kaiju emerges before her. The mother then watched her daughter almost get eaten alive, but thankfully Hibino saves her. With a single hit, he sends the kaiju flying, giving them peace for the moment. This action made Hibino realize how strong he really is, so he proceeded with caution when approaching the little girl. Even after his valiant effort, she is still scared of him, so Reno steps up, assuring her everything is okay. As they think everything is fine, the monster gets back up, ready to fight again. Hibino doesn't back down, however, telling Reno to take the girls and get as far away as they can. He then charges up his newfound powers and strikes the kaiju in the face, smashing it into oblivion. With his attack holding so much power, it caused the monster to explode in air and cause a rain of blood. With all of this power, he wonders if he can continue fighting the kaiju, realizing he's stronger than ever before. Once it stops raining, he tells Reno that he needs to leave, not wanting to cause him any issues. Like a hero, he walks away into the night, leaving only the girl and Reno to live to tell the tale. He sees Mina in the girl, realizing he has finally achieved his dream, even if it's not being in the assault force. He then tells Reno that he has no intentions of giving up, telling him he plans on standing by Mina's side. Mina, on the other hand, arrives to the scene left clueless as to what possibly happened here. Her familiar inspects the area and eventually leads them over to the small girl. Mina asks her what happened, wondering what kind of kaiju assaulted her. She assures her everything is all right, asking again what happened. The girl begins to talk, telling her she needs to promise not to hurt the good kaiju if she spills the beans. After these events, he went back to work as if nothing happened, seeing a television show about himself. With Hibino being the first ever kaiju to escape their grasp, the country is still left in a panic. Reno, on the contrary, gets presented with an envelope entailing details about an application. With it telling him he got accepted into the assault force, he runs away happily, looking forward to a brighter future. He goes to tell Hibino of these events, but is stunned when he sees him in his kaiju form. Hibino reveals that because it's been 3 months, he has started to gain control of his powers, being able to switch between forms. Reno then presents him with a paper explaining he also passed the first round for the assault force selection. Reno asks him if he will be able to pass it, knowing if he shows his true self, he will get hunted down. Hibino, however, is confident in the control of his powers, telling himself that being 32, this is his last chance at taking the exam. Although he has pretty good control over his powers, he still slips up from time to time, making Reno unsure of whether he will make it or not. 10 days have passed since this day, and they finally arrive for the second part of the selection exam, with security everywhere, making it difficult to enter. You already know this is going to be a good arc. Reno and Hibino then step out of the car and arrive at the Defense Forces base, noticing how large it really is. Hibino tells him not to be impressed just yet, informing him there will be tons of interesting things happening. As he says this, more people start to arrive, all looking like they have their own goals. Before Hibino is able to enter, a small girl approaches him, calling him an old man. She tells him to pay attention to her when she talks, acting like some kind of a big shot. This angers Hibino, so he starts yelling at the girl, asking if being 32 really makes him an old man. She then tells him that his rust bucket is in her way, informing him number 55 is her lucky number. This enrages him, so he tells her that he should teach her a lesson, causing her to get serious. She starts stripping down and activates her power, moving the car herself. Like a savage, she just throws it to the side, making them wonder who this girl is. She then introduces herself as Kikoru, another participant. After doing this, she smelled Hibino and noticed he smells like a kaiju, wondering who he is. He then displays his skills by picking up his car himself and rearranging it, showing she isn't the only one with some super strength. This event started the two's relationship, not knowing that one day they will be forced to see each other again. Some guards then approach the two, asking if everything is all right, informing them they heard something loud. They tell them they are all right, and they head into the facility in which the test takes place. With their confidence soaring, Hibino tells himself there is nothing that could stop him this time around. As the first test of the exam, they are forced to crawl under a barbed wire fence, then have to run as fast as they can, showing this test is an endurance test. With Hibino being an old man, he plans on proving his strength during the ability test. Regardless, he tries his best during the endurance test even though he slacks behind. Once it's all over, Kikoru approaches him, flexing her exam score, her ranking 5th overall. She makes fun of Hibino for being such a failure, not knowing that he has yet to use his true power. He realizes after that he should have used his power during this time, wishing he wasn't a failure. Overlooking these test examines is Mina, not caring when she sees Hibino's name again. While they wait for the next exam to take place, Reno makes sure to inform Hibino of all of his competition. With tons of various strong athletes and elite military people, there is nobody to be looked over. He explains out of all the participants, Kikoru is said to be the best of the best. She then approaches Hibino again to brag about her skills. Once hears this, he tries to jump her, but he quickly gets beat up by her bodyguards. To embarrass him further, she looks down on him, claiming he is an old man who needs to give up. Hibino counters, but knows that she is correct in a way. He thinks that all hope is lost, but Reno tells him there is a new part of the exam this year, it being a knowledge test. Before this test, however, they had to embark on the next test. With this one being the aptitude test, they are thrown into the gated area where various dangerous foes lie. He explains that this year's task is to not only fight the kaiju, but also to defeat them. As he says this, one of them rushes towards him, but it is quickly stopped by metal bars and an army of soldiers. This scares Hibino while others get pumped up in preparation for battle. Hibino wonders why this has changed, remembering they had to dissect the monsters previously. Although the participants are strong, the examiner still doesn't trust them to fully take on the kaiju, so they provide an armor suit to use. Reno is the first to put it on, recognizing his skills being heightened as he does. He thinks with this he can surely defeat a kaiju, gaining the confidence he needs. Now, with all of them suited up, they start scanning the bodies, seeing how much power of the suit they can tap into. With some of them having higher numbers than others, they are stunned to see Kikoru able to use 46% of the suit. The examiners talk about how usually only 1-2 people are able to use 10% of the power, making her an unrivaled talent. While there are many with high numbers, Hibino isn't able to use any of the suit's power, gaining him a 0% reading. This causes everyone to erupt in laughter, making Hibino question what's going on. Kikoru, on the other hand, actually wants him to succeed, having witnessed his strength firsthand. Finally, after a long wait of explanation, they begin their operation in taking down the kaiju. With them being provided high-grade equipment, the examiner tells them not to die, so they don't lose their suits. He also reminds them that their lives are at risk, so if they want to back out, now is the time. As expected, however, nobody falters, causing the mission to finally begin. Kikoru takes the lead, rushing a kaiju and eliminating it with ease. She moves on to the next kaiju and continues defeating everything in her sight. Hibino sees this, so he prepares to head out as well, but struggles to even lift his gun. As he struggles, the examiner informs them that Captain Mina is also watching them, so they should do their best. Once Hibino hears this, he realizes it doesn't matter what others think of him, finally getting serious. Hibino then informs Reno that they aren't watching them with drones to see how many they kill, but rather how they kill them. With this knowledge, he heads back out into battle, hoping to defeat at least one kaiju. After some searching, he finds a kaiju being pushed back, so he decides to fight it, remembering previously dissecting it. He recognizes its weakness, so he throws a bomb at it, stunning it. Now, with it immobilized, he orders the others to shoot its stomach, showing his knowledge around the kaiju is superior to the others. This allows them to more easily defeat the kaiju, so the two move on to helping another group. He becomes confident in his skills with this, dashing over to the next kaiju. As he does, however, he gets caught off guard and thrown into a building. Mina watches but doesn't move, expecting this from a failure like Hibino. Hibino knows, however, if he gives up here, then they will surely fail him. He tries to get up but is unable to force Kikoru to assist him on the battlefield. She tells him that she will beat the rest of them, urging him to keep lying on the ground. She shows these words aren't just words, taking down all of the kaiju within the area. Hibino, on the other hand, is unable to even get up, recognizing his leg is broken. He gets a message from the examiner, informing him that not only is his leg fractured, but his internal organs are busted too. This fills him with rage, wondering why he has to be such a failure. He realizes that he won't ever be able to stand by Mina's side, but he persists anyways. With Hibino showing no signs of giving up, the others question his sanity, him standing up with a broken leg. On top of this, the examiner informs him that as long as he stays standing, he won't activate the barrier to protect him. Reno then assures him that they will fight until the end, having previously gotten his life saved by him. With this in mind, the two set out on their journey to conquer more kaiju, this time with Reno carrying him on his back. While watching, the examiner sees his passion, so he proposes just passing them already. Meanwhile, Hibino continues trying to defeat the kaiju, but with Kikoru taking them down by the second, it proves difficult. He watches as she destroys everything in her path, making even the able bodies wish she would chill out. They know she will clearly pass. They wonder if she could just take a break and allow them to shine. Eventually, after some time, Kikoru ends up defeating all of the kaiju within the area, so the boss is the only remaining one. This still doesn't faze her, however, so she jumps right into its mouth, firing through its body. With a single shot, she proves what a real Defense Force member should be like, inspiring the others to strive for the best. Thanks to her, the test is over, so they conclude the exam, making Hibino ticked off. He wishes he had more time to shine, thinking his current efforts will get him failed. The examiner, Hoshina, however, thinks that because of Kikoru's efforts, it will make it hard to judge even the ones who didn't fail out. He eventually decides on passing everybody, because nobody ended up having to get their shield used. Kikoru, on the other hand, wishes that she could have done more, thinking that even that wasn't enough. These thoughts, however, are soon to prove to be the end of her, with the previously kaiju re-emerging with a new form. It stabs into her, while the others go about their day thinking nothing is abrupt. As you can expect, however, with this kaiju getting back up, all of the others follow, getting right back into battle. This time, because Kikoru is fatally injured, it will be even more difficult than before. Kikoru asks the kaiju before her what it is to be able to damage her, and to her surprise it responds to her. It tells her to wait as it helps its brethren, making her realize it's no joke. She tries to fight back, but it only continues with its attacks, immobilizing her yet again. As this occurs, the examiners are stunned, wondering how it would be possible for a kaiju to re-emerge. Not only this, but the previously low-graded kaiju has leveled up to be a 6.4 threat level, causing the entire squadron to be dispatched. They urge all of the examiners to retreat, knowing they don't stand a chance against such a powerful monster. An alarm sounds telling the participants to evacuate, but drilled into Kikoru's mind is a perfectionist attitude. This very attitude ends up causing her to be smacked around again, her refusing to give up. As she's about to be finished off, she remembers her past, talking with a friend. Her friend congratulated her for performing, first calling her the best. Soon after this, the girl's father emerges, congratulating her for her efforts as well. Unlike Kikoru, however, he shows real joy, offering to take her out in reward for her feats. This makes Kikoru sad, knowing when she gets back, her father won't be impressed even with her getting first. Then, as she expected, when she gets back, her father shows discomfort with achieving such a little thing, claiming she needs to be the best in the world. His harsh teachings became drilled into her mind, driving her crazy when she doesn't achieve her goals. Now, on the battlefield, being unable to deal with the monster, she freaks out, refusing to give up. As she fights, the drone eventually gets back beside her, allowing them to realize how severe the situation is. They think they won't make it in time, knowing even a super talent like Kikoru is too weak for such a monster. The kaiju then uses its final attack to finish her off, but as you can expect, right in the nick of time, Hibino emerges. This time, instead of acting like his usual useless self, he activates his true powers, taking an attack head-on. With a kaiju-like appearance, he stands face-to-face with the monster, showing he has been hiding his true talents this whole time. While this happens, the other participants evacuate the area, knowing there is no chance against such a power. Reno, in particular, tries his best to help others with Hibino suddenly disappearing before him. He knows that if he transforms into his kaiju form, he will surely die, all of the strongest defense force members being nearby. On the other hand, Hibino acts nonchalant about the whole situation, begging Kikoru no to expose him after he deals with this monster. She promises to keep quiet, so he begins his attack, charging up a new and more powerful attack than ever seen before. As he charges it up, the examiners don't see it occur, but end up measuring his skill as a 9.8 rating. With this rating being higher than any other kaiju seen before, they conclude it must be a mistake. Little do they know this very power is held by the one and only Hibino, using it to slay the kaiju before him. With a single strike, he completely obliterates the kaiju, leaving nothing to show for. Right after this happens, however, the kaiju starts regenerating, causing Hibino to beg for it to stop. Like he is a king of the kaiju, it stops and leaves him to talk with Kikoru. He tells her she is safe now, reminding her once again that she can't reveal his true powers. Then suddenly Reno emerges before them and tells Hibino to transform out of his kaiju form already. Soon after he appears, Kikoru faints from fatigue, leaving everybody to wonder what could have happened. With the kaiju being completely obliterated, they recognize it as the one who had escaped their grasp previously. Although he did all of this, nobody suspects that a human could have transformed into a kaiju. They question each other on what could have occurred, eventually deciding to treat it as a national threat and search the entire area. We then transition to Hibino in the hospital being approached by Reno. Although he used his power carelessly, Reno still understands that he ended up being the hero. This makes Hibino happy, telling Reno that it's thanks to him that he has been able to go this far. Right after they finish talking, Mina enters the room and thanks them for their service. Hibino tries to talk to her back, but knows it's not yet time for him to reveal himself. As this happens, Kikoru is seen within a capsule, getting fully healed from the highest level of technology. Hoshina then enters the room and tells her thankfully nobody was killed. He asks her if she knows what ended up happening during the scene. Still unsure of the kaiju appearing, she decides to lie to him and claim credit for defeating the kaiju, but he knows this isn't true. It raises more suspicions on what could happen while in another part of the town the previous kaiju is seen taking a dump. It watches the news play out, wondering how its minions could have been defeated. As it takes this dump, it transforms into a human, answering an important call. It then exits the bathroom and confronts the group of cleaners, revealing it has completely fooled them. With this being shown, it confirms that Hibino isn't the only kaiju able of using a human transformation technique.